Thank you for taking some time during this lovely weather. Appreciate it. We are certainly meeting differently than we would have well over a year ago. And I want to thank you all for your willingness and patience to meet online. Certainly restrictions are currently lifting. And with these changes coming out just recently, we understand some are not quite comfortable to meet in person yet. And with others traveling this time of year, we wanted to ensure the highest access for the greatest amount of community members. And so we chose to continue online, as all the other activities have been to date. So hopefully all of you have read the participant preparation package, but even being as prepared as possible, technology can be a bit tricky at times, and we'll do our best to adapt how needed in the moment. So as I said, if there's issues, please let us know, and we'll do our best to make sure that you can stay connected. Before I introduce the presenters, I want to take care of a little housekeeping. As you're already aware, and you've been hearing me talk endlessly, you are muted. Due to the number of participants today, we ask that you provide your questions and comments through the chat function. And so I believe everybody knows where that is. I'm hoping that everybody's opened it and everybody's tested that they can indeed see the chat and they know where to contribute their comments. After the presentation, your questions will be passed on to the mayors and the CAOs during the Q&A period. It is possible that not all questions will be able to be directly answered over the hour, but we will theme questions where it'll make sense. If your question is not raised directly in terms of verbatim today, it will still be captured as such in the What We Heard report. And this report will include all engagement comments, activities, events, questions leading up to and including both of these sessions today. What We Heard reports will be posted publicly online. Actually, there's one already for the first portion of this process that's online, and I hope some of you have read that. And they're circulated as well to the working subcommittees and the Joint Friendship Agreement Committee. That includes all members of both councils for their review. All responses to the public questions, or available responses to the public questions, can be found on the town websites under the FAQ. So I'm also hoping you've looked at that over this process as well. And if not, please feel free. This meeting will be recorded for two purposes. I've touched on this. The presentation by the mayors and the subsequent Q&A will be posted to the website for those community members that were not able to attend today's session. We will also use the recording to ensure we capture the session's activity for the What We Heard report that I just referenced. So if you prefer, again, please turn off your video or rename yourself to something you feel comfortable with. Just want to make sure that everybody's feeling as able as possible to participate to the best of their ability. If the meeting is significantly disrupted for any reason, a new link will be distributed to all participants. So the email that you used to get this link will send a new link out to you within minutes of the disruption or the disconnection. And finally, as this is a joint town event, please keep the language used in the chat respectful and provide opportunity for all participants to add their questions and comments without judgment. We want to hear from all participants as much as possible. And if you could change the slide, Martina. I also want to touch on the objective of this particular meeting. We are in the final phase of the amalgamation review process. This is a report back public meeting to overview the outcomes of the review process, the recommendations being made by the Joint Friendship Agreement Committee, and the remaining next steps. In the presentation today and tonight, today and tonight, but for now today, we will cover amalgamation background, high-level process and timeline, a progress update including engagement activity results, the financial review and financial outcomes with recommendations, the process next steps, and then of course provide opportunity for your questions. While the presentation is in progress, please feel free to provide your input on the material in the chat. So you don't need to wait until the Q&A portion. You can start entering them now as they come to mind for you. So quickly, I'd like to introduce the presenters this morning. We have the Mayor of Black Diamond, Ruth Goodwin, and the Mayor of Turner Valley, Barry Crane. In support of potential questions, both CAs are present. The CAO of Black Diamond, Charlene Brown, and CAO Sean Patience of Turner Valley. Other members of JFAC and staff may be asked to respond to questions as required, so you may hear a few different voices. And as mentioned, I am Lauren, part of the support team for the amalgamation review process, and my colleague Stephanie will be supporting the Q&A portion of today's session as well, so you'll hear her voice shortly as well. So, okay, let's get started. Mayor Barry and Mayor Ruth, I'll hand it over to you.
And we're good. Can everyone hear me, please? Give a thumbs up. Excellent. All right. Thank you. Well, thank you for attending today. And thank you, Lauren and Maven, for laying down the groundwork on what we're going to do today. So why don't we jump right into it so we can get to the public's questions as soon as possible. I'm going to handle the beginning of the presentation and just give a background and an overview of where we were and where we're at. And then I'm going to hand it over to Mayor Ruth, and she's going to bring us through all the financials. And for anyone who's wondering, JFAC is our Joint Friendship Agreement Committee. And so we do have those members present as well if we need to call on them. So amalgamation. Well, as you all know, we have been talking about amalgamation in the Turner Valley Black Diamond region for over 40 years and 4 decades. So, you know, it's not something that is the newest thing on the block. It's been discussed quite extensively over the years, and we're happy to get to the point now where we're looking at the final processes of what it may look like. So it's a merger of 2 communities into one, and it's not new to municipal governments. It's been done all across this country, and we're at the point where we're looking into it ourselves. Next slide, please. So in September of 2020, the towns formally notified the province that we would begin good faith negotiations. And I must say, to this date, the process has been very good, and we've had great committee meetings all along the way. It's been a priority of both councils to endeavor to find the answers that we've all been looking for, and we do that through an extensive review of information and data. And that's what this negotiation has been all about, is building that information through the process. The public involvement is part of the engagement strategy laid out in the MGA, and we've gone over and above to do everything we can to engage as we are today in any possible way. COVID-19, of course, has been a bit of a hustle, but we've strived past it just as everyone has adapted to meet the new challenges, and we're no different. So very important to say that a final decision on this has not been made, and it is still in the discussion stages with the negotiations, and we'll talk about that in our August and September meetings. Next slide, please. So why amalgamation? Well, obviously the history speaks for itself, but I wrote a little side note, and I think it's very relevant. You know, you've got 4 decades of councils, not just our council, but all previous councils have talked about the collaboration efforts that are required to run municipalities. I think the real kingpin that we have to recognize is what the 2013 floods did for our communities when it comes to having each other's back and truly showing the resiliency that we have for each other. You know, the water plants were wiped out in Black Diamond, and within days we had an entire pipeline ran across the golf course and supplying the entire residence. That really gelled us as a community. Just to list a few things, if you look at all the partnerships we've built on from the past, presently we share the water plant, the sewage treatment plant, the intermunicipal sheep library, FCS program alignment, our garbage and recycling facilities and operations, our economic development, and we sit on several duplicated committees where we make the same decisions that we then go and implement. So there are so many things that we already do. This is just streamlining those into those efficiencies that every government across the province and across the country always speak to when it comes to running a municipality, delivering the services for the community at the best possible price. Efficiency is the first word you're going to hear. And if you see here, shared objectives, all those apply, but we don't need to go into detail on that. That's all political speak that you don't want to hear. So we'll go to the next slide. The process, so the data collection and analysis. So as you can see, the subcommittees consist of the finance, the public and stakeholder consultation, the emergency services, and the procedure. So those 4 committees were all divvied out to group members. So councils appointed 2 in most cases to each committee. They were then given terms of reference and duties to go and cipher the information. And that's where we have got to right now is the completion. The last one is the finance. So we're now at we have the document stage and we're presenting the last of the information. So you can find that, and you would have got it. Now that's a bad focus, but it's the public information paper that's posted to the websites as of July 9th, 2021. That has all the information to date. So, and again, it'll be revised. But this is how we've done it. We've gone through the subcommittees to gather all the information, decipher it, bring back recommendations, and discuss and debate. Next slide, please. Finalization of JFAC. I think I just went over some of that. And if I double speak and talk about the same thing twice, forgive me. So JFAC has all the decisions, mandatory and transitional topics to cover. They're also in that document. I could list them out. So we'll move ahead and look at the August 25th. There you go. Thank you. Mandatory items. So here's the mandatory items: municipal name, boundaries, status, electoral wards, council representation, location of municipal office, proposed incorporation date, annexation of land, which is not required because we have continuous border, and other matters which fall into transitionary. These are the mandatory topics that as committees, we've sat down, we've taken public engagement and public input, and we've come up with the answers. And I will speak to two of them further in the process here. Next slide for transitionary. And these are your transitionary items. So after you've hit all your mandatories for the application, then we start on to this. And we've got answers for almost all of these as well. We don't have to have all the answers to certain items. So that's something that is kind of a work in progress. For example, library services. Well, we have an intermunicipal library. There's some details around how you close down and incorporate a library and then flip over into a new one. So little details we're not too hung up on, but big questions like where would the town office be? Okay, that's a big question. Well, it's going to be in Black Diamond, for example. So we've asked the public for input on those. We've taken those into consideration and we've moved ahead as best as possible. A lot of these transitionary topics deal with a lot of administrative work like bylaws, resolutions, and existing municipalities. So a lot of that comes from staff recommendations. But it still goes through councils for debate and decision. Next slide, please. So the engagement process. So here's where we had some events for the public. Just quickly through there. So we had the question of electoral wards versus at large and the naming activity. They were quite well received, I think, for an online platform. Next slide will give us the answers. So let's just click right to that. Sorry, that's the timeline. I know that well, okay, we can back up one there, Martina. I'll just give the answers now and then we'll skip it later. So the electoral wards, you have to look at, and we asked the public the question, do you want a ward system or an at-large system? The answer was at-large. And I have to agree, I think that's the best way to go because it speaks to you're now one community, everybody is looking out for each other, and that's how you really want it. When you look at a city like Edmonton and Calgary, you talk about wards, then you're talking about specific areas. That's for big cities, not for small towns. The naming activity became Diamond Valley, and away we go. So 79% approval for Diamond Valley, I think. Microphone's on. Cheers. Is it reverbing?
No, that's because we're using my mic on my iPad so that we don't get the.
Perfect. Okay. Excellent. Sorry, just had to take care of a technical issue there to make sure that our volumes were working properly. Okay, so Diamond Valley was the chosen name. We had 1,700 submissions, 1,100 of which were valid, and it was a great result, I think, to really show that Diamond Valley is the strongest name coming forward. Next slide, please. So here's the timelines starting from when we initiated this process. So you have the letter to the minister notifying them that we're going to go into negotiations. Then you have the engagement planning session. This is basically a capital project layout. The engagement kickoff and communications, the events, the activities for municipal name and electoral awards, which was in May, June. Next, there you go. Here's our committees working through the processes all the way along. And again, you can see where we are. We're right here at the July engagement activity. And here's a few more cogs in the wheel to finish off. So that's just a simple timeline. And it's been very, 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 very stressful for administration, just so you know, to work to this timeline and get all this information together. It's been a very, very large project, and we're really appreciative of all the time and effort that they've all put into that, including Maven and the public in general. Next slide, please. So general progress. Again, right back to the subcommittees. You've got your analysis and recommendations complete for our 9 topics. Stakeholder engagement was 3. Emergency service is 1 main topic, and that is what service delivery will we have? And the answer is exactly the same, because that is what we require, and we have some of the best emergency responders in Alberta, if not Canada, and some of the best volunteers in all of Alberta as well. So we're really appreciative of that. And the procedure committee had 10 topics for analysis and recommendation, and they can all be found in the reports that you received. And they'll be posted on the websites at all times. So all that information is now available for anyone to review. Next slide, please. Here's what I was speaking to earlier, the engagement activity for electoral awards. You can see here, you've got an at-large at 49%, award system at 43%, and I don't know at 8%. So we kind of split it off. There's a sub-window pie chart here that you can see that kind of played around what award would look like. There was talk about 3 and 3 and a mayor at large, but in the end, at large representation of 1 today, and that's where we're at. So just for a breakdown, there's the details of how that went. Next slide, please. And here's your naming activity. All the names that were represented are even listed, even in the smallest detail. For example, we have Huronville is one. We've got some unique names in there if you really narrow in on it. But Diamond Valley was the clear winner with 74%, not 79. There was a slip of my tongue earlier. Followed by Sheep River with 17%. Just for your knowledge, Kiskawapta is the Stoney Nakoda First Nation word for Sheep River. So that was, you can see it right above Diamond Valley. So just in case you wanted to know what Kiskawapta was, that's the Stoney First Nations word for Kiskawapta. And as you can see, there's the results, the 1,100 responses and so on. So thank you for everyone for participating in that. I think that was great. I had a great interview with the grade 4 class in Turner Valley School, and we discussed all the naming activities and so on. So it was a great public engagement event, and I'm really appreciative of all the people that got out there and helped. Next slide, please. Okay, and as always, all public engagement. Everything that you want to ask, please ask it. Now is your time to voice whatever question, opinion, or thought that you might have that you don't know the answer to. That's why we're here. That's why we've gone through these events. We want you to ask questions. It's perfectly fine if you're a bit nervous. You don't have to vocalize it, which holds a lot of people back. Type it in the chat window and ask the question. The worst we can say is we're going to get back to you, but I guarantee we'll get back to you with an answer no matter what. So please ask the question. It can all be part of the document that we submit to municipal affairs in the future. You can always find the frequently asked questions online. You can find every question that's submitted online. We have everything wide open for transparency. I'll say it again, the public information paper is now the complete document. If you can't find it in there, ask the question. We still have time. Okay, and I think I have one more slide. So I'll just say again, you're here, you signed up today. Please ask any question you want. That's what we're here for. And with that, I'm going to hand this presentation for the rest of the morning until we get to the Q&A to Mayor Ruth. So Mayor Ruth, after you.
Thanks very much, Barry. I appreciate that. Just before beginning this portion of the presentation, can I please just indicate to and acknowledge the subcommittee, and it's the Finance Subcommittee, the hard work and the time and the effort that these individuals have put into this portion of the amalgamation discussions and negotiation. Special thank you to CAO Brown, also CIO Patience, our employees, Shirley Campbell and Corinne Middleton, as well as our council members. And today we have Cindy Holiday, a councillor from the town of Turner Valley, present to be able to respond to some of the questions that we will probably be deferring to our financial subcommittee. Jackie Stickle, Brian Marconi, and Jamie Wilkie. So thank you to all. Also to our municipal affairs supporting representatives who have made themselves available to all staff and council members, a thank you. Beginning with our finance portion of this report, just acknowledging and please identifying that on our website, we have the Amalgamation Negotiation Financial Report to Public, dated June of 2021, as well as the Amalgamation Frequently Asked Questions. Barry has reiterated throughout his presentation, and I don't need to reiterate, the public information paper as well. So with this slide, the Finance Subcommittee review, an Amalgamation Finance Subcommittee was established with the representation from both towns. Administration to consider the financial implications of the amalgamation carefully. The committee analyzed the financial information of both towns, taking into consideration the municipal debt and reserves, the assessment and taxation, operating revenues, and expenditures, as well as the capital plans and asset evaluation review, both costs and savings, as well as funding available. Next slide, please. Our overall recommendation. The amalgamation financial analysis shows that both towns are in good financial positions. We're very similar to each other in most financial aspects and respects such as fees, tax rates, etc. And no red flags have been identified on the financial issues. Next slide, please. Long-term debt. The long-term debt is used by both municipalities to support upgrades and infrastructure replacement, equipment and buildings. Debt cannot be used to support operations. The JFAC decision include in the amalgamation negotiation report that operating revenues continue to support the existing debt of both municipalities before and after amalgamation. The municipalities are not permitted to run deficit budgets, so financial reserves allow municipalities to save money for major infrastructure projects while adhering to the financial management requirements. Reserves are both operational and capital savings plans for the future. Thank you. Next slide. Our reserves. Both municipalities have designated capital reserves that are set aside to fund specific projects. The variance of $3.7 million will be addressed by having both municipalities equally contribute to the operational reserves of the proposed new municipality and ensuring all reserves become designated reserves based on the 10-year capital plans. The intent to direct current reserves to address infrastructure deficits will be addressed during this period as well. The decision of JFAC includes under topic 20 in the amalgamation negotiation report that designated capital reserves to remain in individual municipalities until utilized. All existing undesignated capital reserves should be designated to restricted dedicated reserves contained within their 10-year capital plans prior to incorporation date. Operating reserves should be contributed to equally based on Black Diamond and Turner Valley's requirements, with the remainder to be designated to capital reserves. Next slide, please. With the incorporation date of January 1st, 2023, our assessment matters. Our property assessment occurs annually by a certified contract assessor appointed by the province. The province requires a review to determine if there's a need to treat current year property assessment differently for all or any portion of the proposed municipality. As the incorporation date would be January 1st, 2023, and both municipalities utilize the same contracted service provider, there would be no need to treat property assessment differently. JFAC's decision is to include in the amalgamation negotiation report that there is no need to treat the property assessment differently, since the incorporation date would be January 1st, 2023. The interim tax treatment, the province requires an amalgamation municipality to assess whether there is different property taxes in each municipality, and that would need to be changed midway through a tax year. In this case specifically, we are proposing an amalgamation incorporation date of January 1st of 2023. Therefore, no interim tax treatments are applicable. JFAC also requested that in the amalgamation negotiation report that no interim tax treatment is required, since the incorporation date would be January 1st. With regards to the tax treatment, the province requires commitment to any previous annexation agreements. Typically, these include taxing properties at the rural taxation rate until a specific date or such time as the property owner makes a change to the property. And that would be like a triggering mechanism such as land use change or a development change. In 2020, the town of Black Diamond annexed lands to create a contiguous border with Turner Valley. The annexation agreement includes a clause that states for the taxation of 2020 and in each subsequent year up to including 2044, the subject lands must be assessed as if they were in the Foothills County and taxed as if they were in the Foothills County until a triggering event as noted in the agreement. This is also inclusive of any discounts which Foothills County offers their ratepayers. The agreement in an order of council, and it is in the order of a council, and it must be adhered to under the legislative requirements. JFAC has requested that it in the amalgamation negotiation report that for the lands annexed by Black Diamond to unify a boundary between Black Diamond and Turner Valley for the purposes of taxation in 2020 and in each subsequent year up to and including 2044, these lands must be assessed as if in the county of Foothills and taxed as if in the county of Foothills until a triggering event is noted in the agreement. Next slide, please. Our operating and revenue expenditures. Both Turner Valley and Black Diamond have similar revenue sources, and the operating costs are very similar. The municipal revenue is derived from municipal taxes, grants, utility services, and other income such as franchise and user fees. An example of similar municipalities with populations comparable to 5,000 were studied for information, and the relative comparisons of the costs and revenues for towns similar in size on the amalgamated municipality. Didsbury and Redcliffe were the two that were picked, and they are comparable as municipalities. They were close to larger centers, have similar population sizes to the newly amalgamated municipality. The expenses of the potential amalgamated municipality are in line with the similar sized municipalities that we used as a comparison. Both expenses and revenues combined for example purposes only. Based on this comparison, nothing of significant concern has been identified. Next slide, please. Our capital plans, asset and evaluation review. To compare the two municipalities' financial situation, the assets of both towns were compared. The most significant infrastructure deficit between Black Diamond and Turner Valley are the roads. Black Diamond has a replacement value in excess of $67.4 million. Turner Valley has a replacement value in excess of $45.2 million. An assessment of these assets should be performed upon amalgamation. Black Diamond also, of note, has 26 kilometers more of roadways than Turner Valley. Black Diamond's capital plan costs for roads only include bringing the current gravel roads back to gravel roads, not pavement, once the underground repairs are completed. The new council will need to address the road's infrastructure deficit and differences between the two municipalities upon amalgamation. A review of both municipalities' 10-year capital plan will assist in determining the priorities and needs of the immediate future of the new municipality. The towns could draw upon reserves to assist in the funding of roads to reduce the infrastructure deficit. The 10-year capital plan will be utilized as the indicator of the infrastructure condition and costs to upgrade. Turner Valley has 28.4 million planned, and Black Diamond 38.4 planned. This will assist with addressing the infrastructure deficit between the towns by comparing the future capital priorities. Our application is to include under topic 20 in the amalgamation negotiation report that the 10-year capital plan be utilized as the indicator of the infrastructure condition and costs to upgrade. For the 10-year capital plan, Turner Valley has again 28.4 planned and Black Diamond 38.4 planned. This will assess with the addressing the infrastructure variations between the two towns and by comparing the priorities of each municipality. Next slide, please. Savings. Decisions made by both Black Diamond and Turner Valley councils through the amalgamation process that will result in reducing the costs include a 7-member council resulting in a reduction of 7 elected officials and 1 CAO resulting in a reduction of 1 CAO. It is also expected that there will be a reduction in administrative costs by eliminating redundancies between the two towns. An example of that would be the financial audit, IT software, IT hardware, and office equipment. The Finance Subcommittee estimates approximately $370,000 annually savings as a result of amalgamation. Future decisions of council can be predicted, and while we can estimate many of the possible efficiencies and additional cost related to amalgamation, decisions as to whether those efficiencies or additional costs are realized will lie with the future councils and administrations. Next slide, please. Costs. Upon amalgamation, a service level review will be conducted and the organizational structure will be assessed to determine and identify the requirements of the amalgamated town. Next slide, please. Funding. Policing specifically, with a population over 5,000, an amalgamated municipality will be eligible for the Municipal Policing Assistance Grant. The Municipal Policing Assistance Grant provides communities with the financial costs of municipal policing and is available to municipalities with a population over 5,001. Allocations are based on $200,000 base payment plus $8 per capita. The new municipality could recognize savings of over $25,543 under the new model. The ACP, or the Alberta Community Partnership Grant, following the amalgamation, the new municipality can apply for this grant. In accordance with the currently available 20 and 21 guidelines, $1.2 million is the total grant amount that the new town could be eligible to apply for following the incorporation date of January 1st, 2023. Grant totals could change based on the program and the approval guidelines in subsequent years, and that is dependent on the provincial guidelines of the day. The grant is provided based on the following two streams, both transitional and debt servicing infrastructure streams. The transitional stream has a base amount of $100,000 plus $500 per capita to a maximum of 300 persons for a total of $250,000. The debt servicing infrastructure stream has a base amount of $500,000 plus $1,500 per capita to a maximum of 300 persons for a total of $950,000. In total, $1.2 million. The ongoing grants which both municipalities benefit from are the Municipal Sustainability Initiative, which is MSI, as well as the Federal Gas Tax Fund allocation, which is shortened to FGTF, which you'll realize that we have lots of these acronyms. And it's to provide the province then with a calculation, and they allocate funds based on a per capita basis. Thank you. Next slide. In an amalgamation, the province requires any financial commitment to other municipalities to be accommodated. If there's a need to provide comparison from the proposed municipality to other municipal authorities, then the details of the compensation should be included with the application. Both Black Diamond and Turner Valley have contractual agreements with the Foothills County that will need to be continued by the proposed municipality. Black Diamond is committed to paying Foothills County $22,154 annually until 2024, and this is for the purposes of the annexation payments. Turner Valley is committed to paying Foothills County $10,000 annually in compensation for the paving of 16th Avenue, and that is Turner Valley's portion of 434 Avenue. This is a 10-year agreement with the last payment to be made in 2030. There is no other compensation to other municipal authorities. The decision of JFAC is that under topic 16 in the amalgamation negotiation report, that the amalgamated municipality would be required to pay Foothills County $32,154 a year until 2024 for the previous contractual agreements, which include annexation agreements and municipal road maintenance agreement, after which the payment would be reduced to $10,000 per year with a last payment made in 2030. Our local improvement levies are utilized by the town of Turner Valley to assist with the payment of large construction projects that benefit specific residents. The levies will stay with those properties in Turner Valley until such time as they are paid in full. The town of Turner Valley has 10 local improvement levy bylaws. The total amount outstanding as of December 31st, 2020 is $271,718. The town of Black Diamond does not utilize local improvement levies for infrastructure replacement. JFAC has indicated under topic number 20 in the amalgamation negotiation report that the local improvement levies remain with the town of Turner Valley properties until such time as they are paid in full. Next slide, please. The overall, overview of the recommendations of JFAC, and this is concerning the amalgamation application. Under topic 1, the name. We propose that the name Town of Diamond Valley as the name of the amalgamated municipality in the amalgamation negotiation report to the province, pending confirmation of the legal use of the name. Topic number 2, municipal boundaries. We agree to the municipal boundaries as per the land description with the current boundaries of both towns and further direct administration to provide the legal descriptions to consult to include in the report to the minister. Municipal status. We agree to the municipal status of town. Electoral wards, under topic 4 in the amalgamation report to the province, that an at-large electoral representation to the preferred format for the 2022 Q4 election, as opposed to dividing the new municipality into electoral wards. Our council representation, we agree that 7 elected officials are to represent the newly formed municipality upon its incorporation. The municipal office, we agree that the main municipal office be located in Black Diamond at 301 Center Avenue West. Our proposed incorporation date, we have requested that the incorporation date of the new municipality be January 1st, 2023. Next slide, please. Topic number 8, the annexation of land to achieve contiguous border. This is currently a contiguous border, which is again what Black Diamond established during the annexation process and achieved in 2020. And no further changes are required. Topic 9, other matters. Utilities, assessments of the utility rates, differences and how they should be handled. JFAC agreed that under topic number 27 in the amalgamation negotiation report that the current utility rates for each municipality be continued until such time as a new utility rate bylaw is established. And we are requesting that the West End Regional Sewage Services Commission establish a bylaw as per the MGA section 609.091 and provide the bylaw for inclusion into the negotiation report. Topic 10, the interim council. We agree to support this should the amalgamation application proceed with the first election in Q4 2022. Therefore, no interim council will be required. Topic number 11, the interim CAO. We recommend that the current CAO of Turner Valley, Sean Patience, be named in the amalgamation negotiation report as interim CAO, and further agree to recommend that the current CAO of Black Diamond, Charlene Brown, be named in the amalgamation negotiation report as a secondary for the interim CAO. Topic number 12, the first election. We agree to recommend that Q4 election date of November 28th for a new council of the amalgamated town, and that this be the preferred option to be included in the ministerial order. We also strongly support the resolution for the Q4 election of 2022 and the report on amalgamation as a reduction of 1 council as part of the cost-saving measures and operating efficiency supporting the amalgamation process. We also agree to provide an alternative recommendation in the negotiation report, inclusive of 14 council members comprised of the council selected in October of 2021, and this is combined between Turner Valley and Black Diamond, with a mayor being appointed by those 14 sitting council members. And you'll find this under the MGA section 150 for a period of 90 to 120 days after incorporation. Next slide, please. Topic 13, with regards to the general election, we agree to continue with the current timeline, accumulating amalgamation in January of 2023 as presented. If scenario 3 in the letter of response dated November 5th, 2020 from the Minister of Municipal Affairs, Minister Tracy Allard, and direct administration to inform Minister Allard, which is now Minister McIver, of the committee's decision. Returning officer, and this is our decision with regards to our returning officer, that we agree and recommend in the amalgamation application report that the current returning officer of Black Diamond, Verna Staples, will act as the returning officer for the Q4 2022 election of council for the newly amalgamated municipality. Our ward boundary review, which is topic number 15, or item number 15, that the JFAC recommended under topic 15 in the amalgamation report to the province that a ward boundary review will not be required due to the determination to hold an at-large election in Q4 2022 as a result of the public consultation. Now, the compensation to the other municipalities have been reiterated, and I don't need to repeat that. Next slide, please. Topic number 19, the tax treatment. We have directed that under topic 19 in the amalgamation negotiation report, that for the lands annexed by Black Diamond to unify a boundary between Black Diamond and Turner Valley for the purposes of taxation in 2020 and in each subsequent year up to and including 2044, these lands must be assessed as if the county of Foothills and as taxed in the counties of Foothills until a triggering event as noted in the agreement. Item number 20, the authority to impose additional tax. JFAC has directed that included under topic 20 in the amalgamation negotiation report that local improvement levies remain with the town of Turner Valley properties until such time as they are paid in full. And that operating revenues continue to support the existing debts of both municipalities before and after amalgamation, and that the designated capital reserves remain in the individual municipalities until they are utilized. All existing undesignated capital reserves should be designated to restricted, dedicated reserves contained within the 10-year capital plans prior to the incorporation date. Operating reserves should be contributed to equally based on the Black Diamond and Turner Valley's requirements, with the remainder to be designated to the capital reserves. And that the 10-year capital plan be utilized as the indicator as the infrastructure condition and cost to upgrade. For the 10-year capital plan, Turner Valley has 28.4 million and Black Diamond 38.4 planned. This will assess with the addressing of the infrastructure variations between the two towns by comparing priorities in each municipality. Topic number 21. A motion was made by JFAC under topic 21 in the amalgamation negotiation report that there is no need to treat property assessment differently since the incorporation date would be January 1st. With regards to employees and labor agreements, the committee is committed and agree to include in the amalgamation report that all employees at the time of amalgamation will become employees at the new municipality to ensure uninterrupted service delivery until such time as the CAO, in conjunction with the council elected in 2022, have determined the service levels and organizational structure. Next slide. These are topics 23 through 27, discussing the bylaws and resolutions, deferring the updates by bylaws and resolutions to post-amalgamation, our emergency services. JFAC has indicated and agreed to include in the report that the level of service will be maintained for 3 branches of emergency service, which include fire, emergency management, and community peace officers in both Black Diamond and Turner Valley. Our library services, we've asked that they continue services after the date of incorporation of the new municipality. ICF extension, continuing on, and we do have an extension until April 1st, 2022. And upon amalgamation, if the application is submitted, we will be asking for an adjustment to the deadline with Foothills County. Next slide. Next steps. Lauren and Steph, it's all yours, ladies.
This one's yours, but I'm happy to speak to it. It's just a quick overview of the next steps from council's perspectives. Would you like me to touch on it?
Yes, please.
Yeah, I was going to say something.
Okay. Yeah. So the negotiation report to municipal affairs is being generated right now. It's in very preliminary draft form. That will be wrapped up by August 25th, where JFAC will do their review and decide whether to proceed or how to proceed, and make recommendations to both councils, where council will individually review and decide also best how to proceed, sort of in that August 30th to September time frame. And then if the decision is made to proceed with the application, of course, final decisions are made by Municipal Affairs. Municipal Affairs will have the application in hand roughly in the middle of September. Great. So I think with that, I know we have not too much time for questions. And if we need to run over, certainly the team is happy to do so. I know that everybody allotted for about an hour of their time. So apologies for pushing that time frame up, but let's get to the questions as quickly as we can and see how many we can answer. Steph, I'll hand it over to you.
Perfect, thanks for that. So we've got a number of questions, particularly around naming. They came in first, so we're going to start with them. I'm just going to read all of them out because I think the answer can probably address all of them in one go, but if you miss something, I'll catch it after. So does the name change only affect the organization name, or will the municipality's name change also? So for example, Crow's Nest Pass amalgamated, but did not change the names of the municipalities. And then a follow-up question, will web search engines reference the old names or Diamond Valley? And then questions around driver's licenses. So clarify how the name change will affect our driver's licenses, resident addresses, land titles, and who will pay for those changes.
Okay, who would like to address?
Naming?
Okay, you've got your mic turned off.
Okay,
Sorry, guys, we just got a technical thing here
Yeah.
going on here.
Okay, can you hear me now? Yep. Okay, good. So I'll handle the first few here. So the naming activity clearly indicated Diamond Valley would be the name of the new municipality. Turner Valley Black Diamond still exists. Picture those as subsections, just like in Calgary, where you have Bowness, Forest Lawn, Mayland Heights, Country Meadows, Silverado, Auburn Bay. We would have Diamond Valley, then we would have Turner Valley and Black Diamond. You punch in Turner Valley Black Diamond, you're still probably going to get the exact same information that historically exists on the internet right now. The website, obviously, and the domain name for Diamond Valley or Town of Diamond Valley would then be created as we move forward. And all the information that gets populated into that then becomes new information. Anything that you punch in right now, if you were to punch in Diamond Valley, you'd still see that. But under a new Town of Diamond Valley, you would have a new website that you would also be able to ask or access. So that kind of falls in line with Crow's Nest Pass. They had a specialized municipality amalgamation of 5 communities. They all wanted to keep their name, so they did. And we essentially would be the same thing in terms of how you operate. Where do you live? Diamond Valley, Black Diamond, Country Meadows Way. It's just a subsection under the overall community. Your driver's license address, you basically go and you just renew your license when it expires and you change your address. That's straightforward. And the land titles one, I'll just read directly from the document of frequently asked questions. The answer is actually in there. And it is, just to read straight from it, addressing as the name of the municipality would be changing upon incorporation, i.e. Diamond Valley. There will be a requirement to change both residential and mailing addresses. Work is underway to limit the inconvenience to the residents. Land titles will be changed via the province at no additional charge to the residents. Processing time is approximately 3 to 6 months after incorporation. So we're talking midway through 2023 if everything went towards the timelines. Administration is also working with Service Alberta and registry departments to waive any costs that would be incurred for changing address on all Alberta ID, inclusive of Alberta driver's license, because you can just let it renew and pay your normal fee. Passports can have address changes written directly onto the individual passport holders. At the time of renewal, a new address would also be added. So it's not a massive, difficult process. Most of it banks on expiries and then renewals. There you go. And I think that's my form of questions handled. Next batch, please, Lauren.
I'll just jump in with the next one. So I'm going to go through, and when they're themed together, I'm going to ask the questions just for everybody's awareness, but some of them are sort of standalone questions. So this is the next one. What are the main advantages of amalgamation for residents of Turner Valley and Black Diamond that are most practically prominent, as opposed to more overarching efficiency advantages at the political and administrative level?
Okay, we're still good.
We're still good.
Okay, so that's an interesting question, because really, when you look at amalgamation, the whole point is to start at the very top, find the efficiencies, and then the trickle down effect is what we see on the front line. So what I would say in this context of, what are the practical prominent advantages is we would have streamlined services that are the direct front door applications. So garbage pickups, everything to do with running an organization, all starts at the top and it kind of trickles down. I guess if we were talking from a philosophical point of view, there's strength in numbers. We have a shared vision. We have a diversified economy. We have more expansion of planning. And definitely when it comes to the ring road, the growth in Okotoks, having one mindset that is in charge of how we develop as a community is really going to be important as we move into the future from two small municipalities into a larger, because the boom has affected all other areas around Calgary to a great extent. And we're that last little beautiful bastion that developers are now starting to target. And we really need to be prepared to take on that growth in a responsible and sustainable way. So I know that's not the answer you're looking for, but that's as best as I can give you. If Mayor Ruth can top on it, absolutely feel free.
No, well said, Barry. Thanks very much.
Okay, I just want to acknowledge that we're coming up to 11:30 here. We're going to stay on for a little bit longer just because there's a number of other questions that need some responses. For those of you that need to drop off, as I had mentioned earlier, we'll make sure that we keep recording and we'll make sure we get through as many questions as we can. So please look back if you're not able to stay on, just to watch the completion of the session. Stephanie?
Great, thanks. And I just also want to acknowledge that CAO Brown had her hand up at one point. So if there's something you want to note, please go ahead.
Hi.
Okay, well, go ahead, please.
Yeah, and I just wanted to speak a little bit about the driver's licenses, and because legally you only have 14 days to change an address on a driver's license. Administration has been working with Service Alberta to be able to see if we can shortcut some of those address changes, not shortcut, but make it the most advantageous to the residents if once the name of the municipality has changed. I just needed to add some clarity around that, so I do apologize.
Thanks, CAO Brown. Okay, so the next one is a comment first and then a question. So I have great difficulty with the town's council making the final decision on amalgamation in September 2021. How can any one of the current town council members vote in favor of amalgamation and take themselves out of a well-paid job? It is my belief that serious conflict of interest exists with the final decision.
I'll start with the well-paid job.
Thank you. $50 a day.
We are actually paid on a monthly honorarium, and any additional per diems are a result of the work that we do on committees and other ventures, examples of engaging with community outside of our community, or speaking on behalf of our community outside of community, I should say. And how can we do this? Because we're looking at not only cost-saving measures, but also efficiencies. We are trying to reduce the redundancy through the amalgamation, and I will speak specifically to legislative services, which is town councils. And of course, our only staff member, there will only be one staff member rather than two, and that would be our CAO. So reducing 2 CAOs to 1. Thanks, Steph.
Great, thank you. So now we're going to deal with some questions around annexed land, and I'm going to put them together. Slightly different topics, but there's a question around the in-between land that has been annexed already. Question around, are there any thoughts yet around what that would be zoned? You know, parks, residential, commercial, etc. But then also a question around lands that were annexed in the taxation. So what is an example of a triggering event?
Development. And if and currently the town of Black Diamond is talking to and reviewing with the landowner of the 2 quarter sections east of town, developing a plan. It's a conceptual plan. It eventually will come to the town of Black Diamond Council for review and discussion, and kind of go through the public engagement aspect of that as well. So that's an example of what a triggering event would be, a larger one anyway.
Okay, and so any thoughts yet on the lands that have been annexed and what they might be in the future?
Sorry, that was that response, Stephanie, was with regards to the annexed land. So
Okay.
What do you mean by the in-between lands?
The lands that were currently annexed, but I think CAO Brown might have a response.
Okay, thank you.
If that's okay with the mayors, that I respond to this particular question?
Go ahead, Charlie.
Okay, so currently the lands between the 2 towns is owned by the golf course, and I'm just going to make the assumption that that's the lands that we're talking about. Currently, they are zoned agricultural, county agricultural, and there is some sort of a small piece of county country residential. At this point in time, we have not got any indication that those lands are being rezoned for any other purposes. Hopefully that answers that question.
Great, thank you. Okay, so then we'll move along to some finance questions. So the first one is, in the capital review, Black Diamond contemplated infrastructure replacement, and it says it's urgently needed. However, the plan brought the road back to gravel only. So the question is, why wouldn't the capital application require a paved road on completion of the project? From this person's perspective, it adds considerable cost to the application and results in a questionable capital assessment as shown in the slide. So they're looking for an explanation.
Thank you. And the person that is best qualified to respond to that at this time, just to ensure that there's no additional and updated information. Charlene, can you respond to that question, please?
Sure can. So when we did the when we did the comparison for capital plans, we used what is called the tangible capital asset piece, which is an accounting term which takes a look at the value of the land, the life expectancy of the infrastructure, and then depreciates that. That was the only way to be able to compare apples to apples within the both municipalities. That does not mean that the replacement will just be, when we're finished, infrastructure replacement doesn't mean that that's what's actually going to happen. So as we move ahead with new roads within the municipality, we have been moving ahead with all pieces of the underground. So water, sewer, storm, and as well streetlights and pavement. So that's typically our infrastructure replacement program. But just for the purposes of comparison, we had to use the TCA values, which would be gravel to gravel. Corinne or Shirley, do you want to speak on that?
No, I don't want to speak on it. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so if anybody else wants to answer, great. I'll just wait for a minute, and if not, we'll move on to the next question.
Yeah, we're ready for next question. Thanks.
Okay, perfect. So the next one's around operating expenses. So in one of the slides, it indicated that Turner Valley Black Diamond combined would be 14 million of operating expenses. Based on the comparison that was done in the table that outlines a combined two municipalities, and then compared to Didsbury and compared to Redcliffe. So that $14 million is versus the pure average about $12 million. And it suggests a significant cost savings is available beyond the 370,000 identified. Can you please comment?
Certainly. I'm going to actually turn that question over to Cindy Holiday. Cindy was on the financial subcommittee. Cindy?
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for the question. So certainly the door is open for some opportunities, but we had to stick with what we knew for sure on the cost savings, as well as, you know, what we were estimating the hard costs to be for amalgamation. So future councils may, you know, it's obvious where to look when you look at our peer communities. We know that it takes a lot to run 2 towns and 2 councils. And so we know administratively and legislatively, that's where we're going to find some savings. But we can't guarantee the decisions of future councils. There's an election this year. There will be another one. Should the amalgamation go through in 2022. And those councils might decide that even though there's efficiencies to be found, they might want to increase the services that the newly amalgamated town provides. So we don't have certainty to count cost savings at this time. So we were happy as a finance committee to maybe underestimate some savings, but make sure that we concentrated on the costs of the amalgamation process. So future councils definitely have some interesting decisions and opportunities. So no better time to run for office than over the next few years. So.
Great, thank you, Councillor. Okay, I'm going to move on to the next question. Oh, sorry. Looked like Mayor Goodwin, you were looking to speak. I want to check in with you.
No, I'm just opening it up, the mic,
Okay.
so that we. We're good. No, it's okay.
Okay,
Sorry.
good.
No, we're
Preparing.
we're preparing. Yeah, Barry and I are preparing. Go ahead, Steph. Thank you.
Good. Okay, the next question is, will local improvement levies be the policy of the new municipality?
So I'll field that one. That would be the council of the day's decision. So as laid out in the application, it shows that Turner Valley uses it as a part of their project costs and how to recoup some of those expenditures. Black Diamond doesn't. So a new council would make those decisions.
Excellent. Now we're going to move on to a couple of other questions. What would the Turner Valley Town Office buildings be used for after January 1st, 2023?
Turner Valley.
Again, very simple answer. The new council of the day, that would become an asset of the new municipality, and a new council and administration would either utilize that into its operations, or it would become an asset for sale or building. Obviously, it would always be a part of the town's capital assets. So a new council and new administration would make those decisions based on service level reviews.
Next question is, what is the approximate cost of holding an election in October and again in November of 2022?
So just to confirm the numbers that I have, Charlene, approximately $10,000. Can you confirm, please?
Okay, Mayor, can I get that question again? I'm sorry, I was getting emails at the same time. I have to apologize.
The question is, what is the approximate cost of holding an election in October and again in November of 2022?
It's $8,000 to $10,000 per election.
Great, thank you, Charlene. Next question is, if some facilities are redundant, what financial impact would occur on divestiture?
Okay, just to respond to that, again, and I hate to defer because I'm sure that you're going to be sick and tired of hearing about this, but that again will be a decision of the council of the day.
Kind of fell as well.
Great, thank you. Okay, so then the last question was one about process related to the engagement. And so the question was, will responses to big questions be recorded for us to study, please? A lot of information seems to be there. And so yes, and I think Maureen, you actually got that as well in the previous responses, that all of this is recorded, question and answer as well, and will be posted after the event. So those are the end of the Q&A questions through the chat.
Yes, and I just see Andre's hand up. If you could chat, put your question in the chat, that would be great. I'll just give you one quick second. And then if not, if I don't see anything pop up, we'll just, and if there's nothing else, we'll just wrap up here. So I wanted to thank everybody so much for your participation. It's greatly appreciated, and thanks for your patience and staying a little bit longer. As I mentioned, just very quickly, all input will be collected, so everything that you see in the chat will be verbatim, included in the What We Heard report that I discussed earlier. And so I'm just, one last quick question here. It says, beyond the admin savings of 370K, and some of the advantages of trickle down, what are the main advantages for each resident for this amalgamation? I'll just open that up quickly to the presenters, and then we will continue to wrap up, unless you feel you've addressed this. Anyone?
Sorry, I just had to unmute. Steph, can you please repeat that question? I'm sorry, we were.
That's okay, no problem. Beyond the admin savings of 370K and some of the advantages of trickle down, what are the main advantages for each resident for this amalgamation?
For each resident, well, we're talking and hoping on some form of cost savings, and that can be realized through the reduction of staff work. And by that I mean, and I'll give an example when I say that, we will not have our two staffs trying to collaborate on bylaws. We're also looking at more efficiencies and the efficiencies of at the staffing level. So this is the work level, that sort of thing. And just to kind of review too, in the public information paper, as well as the frequently asked questions, there are lists that identify what we are expecting and hoping to see. And again, it will be dependent on the councils of the day, examples, and much better than what I can reiterate right now, right here. Thank you very much, staff.
Thank you. Okay, and so I'm just going to wrap up, and if you have further questions, I'll just let you know what to do with it here. So what we heard report that I just referenced will be completed within roughly 2 weeks, and will be posted on the town websites under that amalgamation tab. I hope you've all seen that. If you could just change the slide quickly, Martina. If you have any further questions or comments that you felt weren't dealt with today, please use the amalgamation dedicated email addresses for both municipalities that you can find here. And then I'll just give a quick second, and then on to the next slide. Or if you prefer, you can call. And here's the general websites for both towns as well. And then last slide change. I just wanted to thank you so much for your time and attention, and we wish you a great day. So just a big grateful thank you for your active participation over the span of the amalgamation review. So take care, everyone.